Hi, hello, welcome. My name is Trina. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. First, I have to reveal to you all, I have never read a Brandon Sanderson book. I don't have a big enough budget for sound effects, but imagine like horror. For someone who loves epic fantasy, who loves epic fantasy movies, books, I also love low-level fantasy, I love sci-fi, I love space opera. For someone who loves all those things and loves character-centered driven stories, I don't know why I haven't picked up Brandon Sanderson. Maybe it's because the sheer length and the volume is a little bit intimidating. I feel like I've been trying to find a time to read The Way of Kings for the past 2 years. I've had a copy and I'm like, well, I have to pick it the right season when I'm in the mood and it'll be perfect. No more. I've decided that the way to go about this is not to start by reading The Way of Kings. It's not to commit to a 1,200-page book from an author I've never read before. I am going to get my feet wet first, which is why, for this reading vlog, I'm going to be reading Mistborn, The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I said it's called Mistborn, The Final Empire. It doesn't say The Final Empire on this book. It is Mistborn, The Final Empire. I'm almost 100% certain. Yeah, okay, that's what it says on the inside. The cover's just lying to me. Mistborn, The Final Empire. Don't judge me. Actually, don't judge me for this beautiful library version of it. If I end up loving this book, then I will be buying my own copy. But in that case, I want the beautiful, I think these are the UK editions. Whatever editions these are, that are like beautiful blue swirly, I want those. But this, the library US copy, is my first taste test to see if I like it. I strongly suspect that I will like these books. Everyone who seems to like the same fantasy books as I do has liked these books. And this is my tester before I read The Way of Kings, which I'm really excited about because I love a long fantasy book. This is my tester first to see if I like Brandon Sanderson. That is my challenge to myself. I may end up, I don't know where this reading vlog's gonna go. I set that up like this was a planned reading vlog. It's not super planned. It is very much just that this book came off hold. Everybody's talking about Wind and Truth right now. I'm talking about Wind and Truth and I haven't even read a Brandon Sanderson book yet. And so therefore I want to get in on the vibes. I want to get in on the storytelling and I want to read a Brandon Sanderson book for the very first time. But I don't really have anything planned after I read Mistborn. If I love it, if I fall into it instantly, I might just pick up the next book in the first Mistborn trilogy and just continue with this trilogy and finish up this month. Maybe if I fall in love with it, I might do that. Otherwise, I might just pick up another fantasy book because I have a couple of other ones that are also like on my reading list for now. I have A Master of Djinn, which I say was fantasy. It has to be fantasy. Yes, okay, the first line is alchemy, enchantments, and supernatural entities. Fantasy. Not high fantasy, mayhaps. It's in steampunk Cairo, but steampunk Cairo is even cooler than high fantasy, so... but I've been really looking forward to pick this up after I saw recommended by Carrie Can Read. So this is also on my reading list for the month, so I may pick this up after Mistborn, or... where is she? I might continue with my Robin Hobb reading journey and pick up Assassin's Quest. I found this cute old cover version. It's not the version that matches my version of Royal Assassin. Side note, I had no idea my version of Royal Assassin was so hard to find because I was trying to find a version of Assassin's Quest that matches the copy of Royal Assassin that I found in a library sale. It is impossible to find anywhere. It is apparently like a first edition, like really difficult to locate either Assassin's Apprentice or any Robin Hobb books with this old style. So I'm struggling. So if you know a place to find Assassin's Quest in this cover matching, please let me know. But for now, this was $3 at a local used bookstore, so I just got this instead. So I might also start this book because I realized I couldn't wait until I found the cover that I wanted to start these books. I just had to start them anyways. So this is also definitely on deck for the next couple months, but maybe if Mistborn like gets me in the mood, I might just fly into this immediately afterwards. We'll see. So that is the lineup, but of course we are going to start out with Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I know absolutely nothing about these books. I know not a single thing. It does remind me of what I've seen other people say about this book when they were reading it, that It is set in a world in which like the bad guy won, and them now like centuries later, like what that world would look like. And I believe the magic system is about metal and like creating metal alloys. Don't quote me on that. But I believe that's what the book is about in very broad general terms. Once I've started it, once I've gotten to a little bit into it, I will give my first update. It's not crazy long. How many pages is it? It's about 550 pages. The font size is ridiculously small though. It's like 550 pages, but the pages are massive and the font's really tiny. I feel like someone's lying to me. I'm really excited to start this, obviously. That's why I sound all high-pitched and giddy. And I'm really hoping it lives up to my expectations. I'm sure it will. It's time to see if Brandon Sanderson is the author for me. I'm back. I wanted to give a quick update because I finished part 1 of Mistborn. I think it's probably like 20%, 25%. I don't know. We are 140 pages in, out of like 500. Like 25%, I don't know. But it's gone so quickly. Like I really have not had a ton of time to read, and the pages are so large and there are so many words per page, like just as an example. But despite that, the story keeps me moving. I don't even realize sometimes I've sat down and read like 40 or like 30 pages just in like a very short amount of time because it's really flying in, which I'm obsessed with, honestly. I feel like most fantasy books, especially when you're starting a new series or a new world, the first 150, 200 pages, depending on the length of the book, is just world building. It's getting you set up in the world. You may not be super attached to the characters. You may not get them very well. It takes time. I feel like Brandon Sanderson so far is really, really good at just like giving you the details you need to know. Like I really only felt that the prologue was the only part that felt like it lagged, where I was like, who are these characters? Like, why should I care about them? And then the end of the prologue, someone dies and a house burns down, and I'm like, instant loyalty to the main character, Kelsier, and I was like, yeah, that guy's my goat. He's awesome. He burned down that house, which I loved. Like it was a really, really smart and quick way to establish yourself caring about these characters. And with Vin, the other main character, she's automatically like a character we care about a lot because she clearly has so much trauma, which is also written about really, really well, from like her brother and the way that people have treated her in the past. And Kelsier and his friends are treating her in such a different way that she almost can't understand it, and it's just very heartwarming. And like for a part 1, there was tons of action fit into it. That was like, I was really impressed and I was really enjoying it and I was having a good time. So far, impressed, enjoying. I wouldn't say it's like the best thing I've ever read yet, but that's because I need to build into it. It's only part 1. But overall, just first impressions are, it's moving so fast for such a dense book, and I love the main characters. And what else do you really need? But I'll keep going and maybe give check-ins as I read the different parts. Please ignore my general look, but I just wanted to update because I finished part 2 of Mistborn and I got a little bit into part 3. Loving it so far. My only concern is because this is my first Brandon Sanderson ever, I like don't know and trust in him as an author yet. So I'm like, I can see he's setting up these two sides of like Vin versus Kelsier, and that Vin wants to save the nobles at the moment and doesn't think they deserve to die, versus Kelsier thinks they all deserve to die indiscriminately. And I'm kind of curious as to where Brandon Sanderson stands on that side of the debate. And I don't know him as an author yet, so I'm concerned and confused about how he's going to resolve that. I don't think he'll do bad, but I don't know yet, so we'll see. But otherwise, I'm really liking the writing, really love the magic system and the world building. That's definitely the best part so far. We're still kind of getting into it, getting invested, and I don't know, it's like he has to earn my trust as an author first before I fully can be like, love it, because I don't know what he's building to, but I do see that things are being built to. Alright, we're doing a nighttime update in my creaky desk chair because I have one more night to read Mistborn. It's not that it's been going slowly, I just kind of started it a little bit late into my hold, and it was due 2 days ago, and I really don't want to get any fines because I want to check out the next book immediately, so I want to make sure I get it in and don't have any fines that would keep me from checking out the second book. So I have like 12 hours to finish this, but no worries because I only have about 100 pages left. I am 440 pages in. I'm well into part 4. I'm about to start part 5. I really love it. I would say the best sign for this book so far is that the writing style I love. It moves so smoothly for fantasy where it does not feel like a 550 page book or something like that. I'm kind of reading it slowly because it's been Christmas and the holidays and so on and so forth. But whenever I do sit down to read it, it just flies by. I really get sucked in. The way that the action sequences are placed throughout the story, the way that the writing style just is, like the paragraph lengths, the dialogue is written, it just speeds through. So love that so much. Thoughts at the moment, love Vin, love Kelsier. I was getting a little bit like tensiony on a certain moment, but there was a scene that just happened where, oh, I love this. On page 428, there's a scene where Kelsier is like talking to Vin about a man going, he's a nobleman. And Vin kind of calls him out on the fact that Kelsier doesn't also behaves like a nobleman. Like Kelsier doesn't behave like a ska. Like he isn't living on the streets. He's not impoverished. He is half nobleman and he gets advantages from that. And like calling him out on that, I feel like really removed some of the tension in their dynamics. So I'm really happy that that happened because that was one of the things I was going to complain about. I love Vin. I just don't know if I really care that much about Elend. I think getting his POV for a couple of scenes helped to assure me, okay, he's not some like evil person. But at the same time, who cares if he was? Even though there's still a chance that he was, and Vin falls in love with him so quickly, it feels like. It feels like there's not enough time. Like, it feels like she's basically just in love with him upon first meeting him. She's a 17-year-old girl. It's fine. I think she's well written as a 17-year-old girl who's, like, learning to be a girl and learning to trust for the first time. But compared to how long it takes her to fully trust the crew and Kelsier, she really just, like, falls in love with and trusts Elend instantly. When in fact, he's probably one of the few people that she should trust the least and have the hardest time warming up to. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily love their relationship if that is what's coming from them being into each other. I don't really care about their relationship. And I like a romance subplot, but I don't really care about Elend. I also say, I don't know, I'm like I said, I only have 100 pages left. And while I really, really like it, I love a fantasy, you know, can't go wrong. I'm not sure if I can say that I'm obsessed. And maybe that's setting myself up for disappointment because you shouldn't go into a book expecting to get obsessed with it. But I kind of was because I know how much people love Brandon Sanderson. Like, I'm loving the writing style, loving the world building. I totally see what people mean with his magic systems and his world building because I'm so into it. It's so cool. But I love a character-focused fantasy. I love any character-focused story. It could be any genre. And I feel like we're still barely skimming the surface with these characters. So this might be a case in which I hope, that I might love book 2 and 3 more because I'm already attached to the characters. Because that's what happened with the Farseer trilogy. Assassin's Apprentice, I could tell it was a good fantasy, but it wasn't like doing anything for me personally and then when I got to Royal Assassin at that point, then I was like obsessed. So I got really, really into it, and I'm hoping that happens with the next books. But I know that people say that the first book here is their favorite in the trilogy. So I guess I just went into it with really, really high expectations. And I'm not, like, it's not disappointing, but I don't think it hasn't, like, personally snagged on, like, my dopamine emitters in my brain yet. But we will see. There's still time. There's still 100 pages. And I really do think I'm just going to jump into book 2. Maybe even for this vlog. I know I had other books potentially planned. If I don't get the Well of Ascension from the library, then I might just start one of their 2 books. But overall, yeah. I can also give a quick holidays update because this is gonna be a very long vlog. I'm taking my time with these books, but so this will be like weeks after Christmas by the time anyone sees this. But I'm very excited because for Christmas I got some Bluetooth mics. So I hope that they sound good, and I can't wait to test them out with this vlog, and so it's not phone audio anymore. And I also, my darling mother also got me an illustrated edition of Royal Assassin that is very late in the mail, so that should be coming soon. So I'm really excited to show that on this channel as well, because that is going to be beautiful, and I'm so excited. Yeah, I already have a copy of Assassin's Quest, but a illustrated edition of Assassin's Quest. So I'm excited to share those things as well. But overall, I have about 12 hours to finish this. I know people say Brandon Sanderson is known for his endings, that the ending is going to be the best part. So I'm very excited for that. But let's hunker down and finish it up. It's the next day, but I did finish early this morning Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. My very first Brandon Sanderson ever. I'm very excited. Starting off, I will just preface this by saying I liked this book. I liked it a lot. And what gives me like the greatest feeling is that what I liked best about it was the writing, was the pacing and the storytelling, because that puts my trust in Brandon Sanderson as an author, which makes me sure that I'm gonna like his other works even more. That being said though, it's probably gonna be like a 4-star for me. I guess maybe my expectations were just too high. I went into this being like, this is gonna be my new favorite fantasy book of all time. And it was good, but I don't know, it didn't quite hit that obsession point for me. I don't really know what was missing. I'm trying to get this to not flop so much. Love a floppy paperback, but if I'm trying to hold it up and it's like... I'll hold it from the bottom. I think that as good as this was, I wasn't a huge fan of the Vin Elend romance subplot, and I didn't realize what an important part of the story that would end up being, that it would kind of tie together the whole climax was coming back to that romance. And I imagine if I was invested in it, then I would have been going absolutely crazy for it. But I really wasn't. I kind of was like, they fell in love so quickly. Elend didn't really have very much character. He was a very two-dimensional character. He was introduced as a good guy. Like, maybe we had one scene where he was like acting like a conceited party boy, but it was almost immediately apparent that that wasn't who he was, that he was a good person. And then he ended the book as a good person. Like, I feel like I didn't really get anything from him. He was just like a nice boy. Good boy Elend. I liked him, but it seems like we might get more development from him in future books, so I hold out hope for that. But yeah, otherwise I really liked Vin, and I really liked Vin's development, and what she finds out about her family in this book, and how that changes how she feels about the world around her. I love that, and the way that she like grows to love and trust. Did she have to love Elend? Really? That was her choice? Fine. But overall, what remains my favorite about this is the world building and like the backstory and the back plot. Like, I want the whole backstory of the Lord Ruler. Like, I want more of his backstory and more of what happened there and everything. And the Hero of Ages storyline and everything like that. So hopefully we get more of that in the next couple books, because that part was so sick to me. I loved that. Yeah, overall I had a really good time with reading this. It flew through. There was just one thing, I'll try to explain this without giving spoilers, but there's one scene at the end of this book that is a huge momentous climactic moment that I imagine is supposed to impact the reader quite a lot, and you're supposed to feel really, really strongly about it. And that's the one time where I felt like Brandon Sanderson's writing didn't work for me, where I felt like throughout the rest of the book, it was speeding along, it was perfect for action sequences and backstory without feeling too without I feel like it was dumping backstory on you. That's where I feel like his writing shines. But then I was expecting in this big climactic moment where something massive and emotional and deeply impactful happens, I wanted his writing to slow down a little bit in that part and sit with it. But instead, this event occurs in one single page, one page, and that's it. And then we get obviously some reaction to it afterwards, but it just didn't feel like it wasn't grabbing me on the emotional side of things. And that can kind of be the tough part for writers that thrive at world building and big picture items. Then these small important emotional moments can sometimes lack. I don't think it was bad by any means. I just wanted more from it because that moment was happening to a character that was my favorite character in the book. And I deserved more, okay? I deserved a bigger moment out of that. If you read the book, I think you know what I'm talking about, so I won't say it explicitly, but yeah, I just needed more time with what occurred and more of a description. And obviously I get that the suddenness of it and how quickly it happened and how violent it was is part of the impact of it, that it's supposed to be saying things about humanity and life and living and all of those things. But from a writing standpoint, I just wanted more. But that was the only really thing where I felt like I came out of it not knowing where he was getting at. That and the romance. Everything else worked for me. And like I said, I feel like I'm absolutely excited to get into more Brandon Sanderson after this because I'm not intimidated to get into the Stormlight Archives at all. Even though those books are 1,200 pages, I could easily read 1,200 pages of this writing style. It just is so smooth and quick, and all the paragraphs are very brief, and there's a lot of action description amongst the thoughts, so we don't get super bogged down with anything, and I loved it all. But yeah, that was Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. It is time to take pictures of where all my tabs are so that I can return this book. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I want to get the EU covers of this series. I like those a lot more, so I'm tabbing them, taking pictures of where all the tabs are, and then when I get the EU cover later, I'll add my tab back in. Because that's the kind of person I am. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I want to end the vlog just yet. I could, because it's been a week and a half of me reading. Christmas came and went, but I kind of want to keep going if that's okay with you, even if this vlog ends up being kind of long, because I have some more books that I really want to pick up. I was kind of deciding between the book that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, A Master of Djinn, and just going straight into The Well of Ascension, the next book in the first Mistborn trilogy. I was trying to decide between the two of those, but then I went to check on The Well of Ascension at the library and it was already available. So I think I might just jump right in to The Well of Ascension and continue this Brandon Sanderson reading vlog for the very first time. And maybe that book will be a 5-star. Although my only worry with doing that is just that I've seen some stuff online that The Well of Ascension is way more about Elend and Vin's romance, which I'm not really in the mood for. I have some other romanticities going on in the background and I don't really need more of that in my life. But we'll see. I think I might try doing that and go to the library and pick that up today when I'm returning Mistborn, because it is, like I said, overdue. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll continue reading.
I don't know if this is a hot take, and I'm literally like 26 pages into Ascension Max, but it feels like the voice, like Brandon Sanderson's writing voice, feels so different in this book. Like, it does not feel like it was written as like a continuous story. It feels very different so far. Obviously, I don't know if it's bad or good yet, just different.
Hi, we're doing another short update because I just finished part 2. I'm on to part 3. How many pages are we in? I'm over 300 pages in. We're over 300 pages into this. I've given it its fair shot, and I think I can fairly say at this point that I don't like it, which makes me really sad, and I will discuss further with a full halftime update. But in case part 3 magically turns this book around and I start loving it, I want it on record that after part 1 and part 2, I'm largely annoyed by this book. But we will press on for the sake of the vlog and hope and pray that it gets better. Hi, hello, I'm back. It's been several weeks. Like, when I started this vlog, we had just put up our Christmas tree. Our Christmas tree is gone now already. That's how long it's been. I've been really struggling. And also this vlog is getting so long, so this won't be the longest update. But I need to ask, what is wrong with me? Please tell me in the comments what is wrong with me. Why am I not enjoying this book? I'll tell you some of the reasons why I think I'm not enjoying it, but I need to know like what it is about this series that everyone loves so much that it's people's like favorite fantasy series of all time. When I love fantasy, I love epic fantasy, I love high fantasy, and it's just not clicking for me. And like, I don't know why. I've just finished, where am I? Oh yeah, I'm on part 4. I just got to part 4. So I'm more than halfway through. I have 3 parts left, but they're overall shorter parts than the first 3. I feel like when you pick up this book, it's really a testament to what did you like most about the first book? Because if what you liked most about the first book is Kelsier and Kelsier's perspective chapters, because there's multiple main characters, right? Kelsier, one of the main characters from book 1, is not one of the main characters in this book. If he was your favorite part about book 1, did you also dislike the second book then? Because I can't get into it without Kelsier. My things that docked down the Final Empire from 5 stars to 4 stars were the romance, that I like didn't connect with, I didn't really care for. I didn't really like some of the character relationships. I didn't really care about Elend and how much of a main character he became when I thought he was gonna be killed off for like plot like furthering. I didn't care about those things in book 1. This book is pretty much just that. This book went even further into the romance in that now we have a love triangle, and now we have a romantic interest for Sazed, and Sazed? Whatever, I don't know how to pronounce his name. And I didn't need more of that because I so far don't particularly like the way that Brandon Sanderson writes romance. It's very, he was a boy, she was a girl, can I make it any more obvious? Like, oh yeah, there's a boy and a girl character interacting, and they have reasons to like each other. Bam, it's romantic, obviously. How could you be so stupid? How could you not notice it was romantic? And for me, that's just not enough to build up a romance in my mind. I need characters to have romantic tension, not just like any tension, because there can also be amazing tension between platonic relationships, and just the way that he's like, that's enough, we're gonna say it's romantic and then it's romantic. It just doesn't work for me. I don't care about Vin and Elend. I don't care that they're like the man I love, the woman I love. Like, I just don't care. And like, this book has made me care a little bit more about Elend than the first book did. Like, I don't mind him as a character so much anymore, but the romance still just doesn't work for me. And Vin's character development in this book doesn't work for me. It feels like every conversation she has with people about her character development is either about her romantic interest or about how much she loves femininity and she misses being like a pretty lady in the court and stuff like that, which just doesn't connect with me because I'm like, you have awesome epic power. It's just been dragging on and on and on, and I'm like, how many pages exactly is it? It's like, we're on page 473, and I just feel like nothing has happened. And normally I like character-focused fantasy stories. I like stories that really center on these characters growing into themselves. But when you haven't fully gotten me to care about Elend and Vin yet, then I can't bring myself to care about like 450 pages of them like skirting around the fact that they love each other, but they have secrets, And I know it's a me problem. Okay, I'm not saying otherwise. I'm not blaming Brando Sando, because obviously so many people love his writing, and there's something wrong with me here, where in the first book, I just only connected with Kelsier, and I really liked Kelsier's stance and his take on the world, and the way that his character clearly had good background reasonings for why he was that way. And because I liked him so much, I just feel the absence of him in this book so strongly. Yeah, I'm definitely still gonna finish it, and I would say I would finish it even if I wasn't filming a vlog. Like, I don't hate it that much, and I am really intrigued by the plot, and I want to know who the hero of the ages is, and I want to know what the deepness is and how that gets resolved, and I do care about those elements, and the world building and the magic system are still just as nice as they were in book 1, but without that being set up anymore to draw my interest, for some reason this is just not working for me. And I'm also like in the midst of a reading slump and a bunch of stuff, so really don't take it personally if this is like your favorite book of all time. I think there are circumstances under which I could have really enjoyed this. It's just not working for me right now, which really sucks. I'll talk about this more when I finish the book, but let me know if there's anything wrong with me, and let me know if there's a Brandon Sanderson book that you would recommend more that maybe has more platonic relationships, because I really do like the relationships between the characters that aren't romantic in this book. What is his name? The Kandra character, I forget his name, but he and Vin's dynamic and the way that they're learning about the world between the two of them and the way that they communicate, I do like that. It exposes me to a side of Vin's personality that I don't particularly like, but I still enjoy their dynamic and the way that it makes the characters actively grow. So if you have Brandon Sanderson recommendations that are more like that, please let me know, because I'm not giving up on him. And I'm not even giving up on this book yet. Like I said, we're only halfway through, so the end could totally catch me off guard and bring this up from what is right now like a 2-star read for me. It could totally bring it up. I just wanted to complain at the midway point, because it's been taking me, I think I started this book 3 weeks ago. I think we are almost 3 weeks into January, and I still haven't finished this book. But I'm going to sit down and finish this in the next 3 days, because the library book is due, and I'm going to get it done, but wanted to complain and get myself back in the rhythm of filming updates for this, because it's been several weeks where I've been filming other stuff, and I haven't been working on this, but I want to get it done. And I want to go back to some of the fantasy books that I really have been loving, and the fantasy series that I've really been loving, and like reignite my love for epic fantasy, because this is kind of killing me right now. This book is kind of killing me, and I don't know why. But yeah, that is my less than stellar update. But we will see if the last half improves it greatly, and if we can save it still. I'm not giving up hope yet. finished it. I finished The Walls of Ascension. Let's just say I'm not gonna jump into the Hero of Ages right away. I didn't end up enjoying this. It's been a few days since I finished it. I couldn't film this right away, and now it's been like a month since starting this vlog, so I ended up like having a lot of time with these books to like sit and think. So this won't be a super long final thoughts. Honestly, I feel like this vlog has gone on long enough. And I don't want to shit talk a book that so many other people love because it didn't work for me, and that's like a me thing. But yeah, this one didn't work for me. I will say, give it credit, the last 150 pages felt like book one again. It felt like that really fast-paced plot that was really intriguing me, and I was really into it again. But the rest of it, it's not even about like it being political intrigue, because I like political intrigue. It felt like poorly done political intrigue, if I could say that. And overall, my main complaint with this book is there were just like a ton of little tiny annoyances that kept repeating themselves, and that would take me fully out of the book in such a way that I like just ended up not being able to enjoy it holistically, because I kept on like stopping to go tell my sister about this line that really pissed me off. Like the colors won't be visible on this camera. I pink tabbed anything that annoyed me, and pretty much all of these tabs except for like 3 are pink tabs. And it just goes to show how many things were annoying me. So even if they were all really, really small annoyances that by themselves don't seem like that big of a deal, it just, that's the kind of thing that brings a book down for me, you know? Like if I'm reading a book that's kind of like boring or like standard, then I'm like, it did what it set out to do, I guess, that's fine. But if I'm reading a book that is like personally irritating me, then it's just gonna sink any enjoyment, and it's gonna make me so much more nitpicky on like the general parts. Because if I'm already annoyed, then I'm more likely to fixate on the other things that are annoying me. So yeah, there were a ton of things I remember about this. I've already mentioned, not a huge fan of Vin and Elend. I just don't really care about them. And so much of this book was dedicated to their romance. This is like a romantasy by epic fantasy standards. Like the romance between Elend and Vin was really somehow driving the plot. And I couldn't care less. Like I really didn't care about them in book 1. I had been hoping the whole time that Elend would die for her character development. He's still kicking. He's still alive. And I think I didn't really realize this until after reading this book, but my favorite character in the Final Empire was Kelsier. Not only is he not in this book, but they kind of shit talk him in this book. Like the characters that he loved and he fought for in book 1 are kind of like, yeah, he's like a really hard man. Like he was really willing to murder anyone in his path. And I was like, Kelsier? Like, I guess maybe from the outside perspective, but from the people that should have been like known and loved him, it just hurt. That was one of the main things that like hurt me about this book. So many things were hurting me, but that was one of them. All in all, I'm kind of sad, and I'm definitely gonna finish the series. I'm definitely gonna read The Hero of Ages. I love the world building still. It's a really cool world and a really cool magic system, and I want to know the lore and the mythos behind everything, but it didn't do it for me in this one. And like I said, I'm not gonna talk about it forever because this is someone's favorite book, and I always feel bad shitting on books that are so well loved and that I see why people would love it when I know it just didn't work for me personally. So I'll leave it at that. Yeah. So kind of a mixed bag video. Final thoughts on Brandon Sanderson as an author. I see why people like him. He writes in a very fast-paced style that even though this is like a 750-page book, the dialogue and the action moves very quickly. It doesn't feel super like heavy. It's very easy to read, so I can understand why he's so popular in that sense, because who doesn't love like a super long book that doesn't feel long, you know? And I can see why people would like some of his characters, because I loved Kelsier in book 1. I really, really did. I loved the way he thought about the political situation in the world. I loved exploring his backstory as it was evolved. But in the end, I just don't really like his messaging and where he's trying to go with the story, and the way he tries to like moralize through the characters but never actually expresses any like hard opinions about like the symbolism of the books. I didn't really enjoy that. To be fair, these books were written in 2006, 2007, and I think it's highly likely that he's probably grown a lot as a writer since then, so no hard judgments, and I absolutely still want to read The Way of Kings. That is still a book that I'm very excited to pick up at some point. This first experiment with him may not have gone well. I think maybe next I pick up something like Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, or Elantris, maybe something that's like a one-off book. If I didn't like his romance, maybe I shouldn't pick up Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. Give me your thoughts below what you think I should pick up next. If I loved The Final Empire, but I didn't like Wells of Ascension, and I don't really like Vin and Len's relationship, yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts on what I could pick up next from Brandon Sanderson, because I don't think it's his writing style that didn't work for me. It was kind of his characters in this specific series that didn't work for me. So I still have hope. And yeah, but this book really did send me into such a reading slump. It has now been about a month since I started this vlog, and it took me so long to finish this book and motivate myself to read it. I just was not getting into it. Now that I finished it, I've been making great progress on other books. I'm like getting out of my reading slump. I've started A Master of Djinn by Djèlí Clark, and I'm really enjoying that so far. I'm going to be picking up, I have a little fantasy TBR over here. I'm going to be picking up Heavenly Tyrant, Jade War, and Assassin's Quest in the next month or so. So I have a really hefty TBR, and this book is, The Wells of Ascension definitely put me behind on that TBR, but that is okay. I tried it. It wasn't for me. We move on, and at some point I'll go back when I'm in like a better reading headspace to try The Hero of Ages and see if it improves any on the story. Because like I said, the last 150 pages of Wells of Ascension was pretty into, so if that continues, I could see myself enjoying it. But yeah, those are my final thoughts on Brandon Sanderson, on this Brandon Sanderson reading vlog. The vibes of I don't even remember what I talked about in some of the early clips from this vlog, so it's gonna feel like a weird roller coaster of a video, but if you made it this far, congrats. I imagine this is gonna be a long one once I start editing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Feel free to check in. See you in the next one. Bye.